Hey guys, it's Jack. I wanted to let you know that we're starting a new push for subscriptions here on Human Events Daily. So make sure that when you're listening to this podcast, you hit subscribe, you download it, and you share it with 5 of your friends. Make sure they're all going and downloading as well, because we need to get the signal out as much as possible. Look, we've done so much over the past couple of years since this show started, and we're only going to do so much more. Let's get it.
So we're going to call this the Jack Posobiec Appreciation Hour. I can say confidently, I think Josh Shapiro would be the vice presidential nominee if it wasn't for Jack Posobiec. And that is, I'm being honest.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we're back on with Matt Boyle, Breitbart News. And Matt, so we just saw that clip of Charlie there, and of course, talking Pennsylvania politics, as we do, that you... And there was something that, and about this because you just come back from Greece, and there was a story that I tweeted about, and as far as I know, I think I'm one of the first people to tweet about this.
I think you're the first.
The first person to tweet about this, where there's this former Greek prime minister, the leftist, Tsipras. You know the names better than I do.
Yes, Alexis Tsipras.
Alexis Tsipras was holding some rally with another left-wing actress.
Yeah.
And this actress, Mariana Tomasito, that she, in response to Charlie's assassination, our friend, that she said, get in line and let's see who we kill first before we calm down.
Yes. It's totally radical.
And she, that's Greek communist for you, that this is one of the most radical things I've ever heard in terms of that's more radical than... all the nurses and the teachers and all those things that people were finding. This wasn't just making fun of Charlie. This is saying we're going to come from more conservatives.
Yes.
How is there a guy who's involved in official politics in Greece, establishment politics in Greece, a former prime minister, wants to be prime minister again?
He's running.
Who's running. How can he be aligned with somebody like that?
Yeah, not only aligned, but this was at an event where he was rolling out the formation of a new political party. It's what they call ELAS over there, and it's all connected up with the radical left and all sorts of different violent movements and whatnot.
So it's kind of like the DSA of Greece.
Very much so. And by the way, what it is it's a sign that, and by the way, the quote that you read out, that was in Greek that she said that,
Sure.
So we had to translate it. But the fact is that it just goes to show you that we're dealing with the exact things that we're talking about, these major issues and these clashes between the radical left and the normal right? Like, I don't know if that's a new term I just came up with, the normal right.
The normal right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're normal people, right? Like, we just want...
Rick Manell said something similar about that recently.
But the point is these major clashes that we see, politically, culturally, etc., they're happening in every country around the world. This is happening in Greece. It's happening in Italy. It's happening in the United Kingdom. It's happening in France. All over Europe. It's happening in the Middle East. It's happening in China. It's happening everywhere. There are divides like this. Now, in some places, conservatives are actually winning. In places like Greece, they have a center-right government right now. I've interviewed the prime minister a couple of different times. He's been very supportive of what President Trump is trying to do. Unlike even the Italians, who have also a center-right conservative government, they let us use our military bases in Greece. Amazing concept, right? We're paying for these bases, and we had no problem using them in Greece, but in Italy, the prime minister wouldn't let us use them, and that's the divide that you see.
That's Suda Bay, right?
Yeah. And so in Hania in Crete, right? It's the big NATO base. It's the last one before the Middle East, and it's extremely important. We probably wouldn't have been able to do what we did in Iran if it weren't for the Greeks and if it weren't for that base that we have there, which is really incredible.
No, I remember that was always one of the plum deployments. If we could pull that when I was in the Navy,
I've been to Hania. It is amazing.
That you wanted to get Suda Bay. So either that or Spain.
Yeah.
And then of course there's Jack Molesworth in the UK, and then Stuttgart, but it was no, you want Spain or Greece.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
or Gaeta, which
right,
is
honestly, Hania in Crete, I mean, just amazing. I've been there a couple of different times. I'm actually going back to Greece next week, and probably gonna end up going back to Crete again. While I'm there, I'm working on some big stories about some Orthodox priests and There's a really famous Orthodox priest over there in the Greek community who's a really amazing guy. His name is Father Dimitri. Greeks will know who I'm talking about when I say that. When I say Father Dimitri, I don't think beyond the Greek community they fully know him.
Is he the one? Is he the one that was? He's like does like Mount Athos.
He was at Mount Isidore in Athens for a while, and so what he was doing, and now the church establishment's kind of turned on him because what he was doing was he was blessing people with this holy cross, and these were people who were suffering major problems, right? Like people with multiple sclerosis, cancer, brain aneurysms, things like that. And there are a number of different people who've experienced miracles afterwards. And so I've been interviewing many of these people. So I'm working on a huge story on it for Breitbart. It's going to come out hopefully later.
It's more of like a Christian story. It's not even really political.
It's not political. Yeah. No. And so cool. It's really exciting stuff. So, but the point is that getting back to the story that you broke on.
Well, and here's my question. Here's my big question on all of this. Does this represent a turn? Because we know the communists have made pushes in Greece and in Italy, in many of these places for in the past number of times. It has always been horrifically disastrous. Of course, we see what's going on in Spain right now, where they're just letting hundreds of thousands of migrants in. Pedro Sanchez, as far as I can tell, is just a full-on communist and is completely betraying his country. Are we seeing a hard left turn in Greece?
I don't think so. So I think that if you look at first off, we're going to see another election next year. Prime Minister Mitsotakis is running for a third term. I think that he's leading in the polls, so I fully expect that he's probably going to end up winning here. And a big part of that is going to be because I think people reject the radical left in places like this. And culturally, again, what we're seeing is the same issues that we face here, from migration to trade to national defense and national security, the threats of radical Islam, the rise of the radical left, are the same things they're facing there. And I think that people in Greece in particular, after having lived through hundreds of years of Ottoman occupation during the Ottoman Empire, their Turkish occupation, and also very recently having had the financial crisis in 2010, they recognize the threat of what happens when you let leftists into control. And that's why I think that, continuing to expose this stuff.
Well, that's what I was actually going to say.
Your story is a huge deal. I've heard from people in Greece. It's totally blown up across Greece since we did that. So.
Well, and it kind of ties with sort of what we were saying about the DSA here in the United States, where I keep saying Spain, Greece sort of had their financial crisis. People said, "Oh my gosh, this is so terrible." They turned to the left back in 2010, and you saw Greece almost was kicked out of the EU because of how horrific the debt became, about the spending.
But that was the left.
And that was the left. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
The left completely ruined the economy of Greece. And then finally, people said, this is so crazy, we have to go back to a center-right government. That's where they're at now. So that's why I'm saying that, it's number one, we in America can't go down that path, and because this is how it always turns out. And number two, though, the people of Greece, you would hope that because this is fairly recent history, that they'd be, smart enough to not fall for it.
I think that they aren't going to fall for it. I think they're very smart people, and I've gotten to know many people over there in my travels there, and around the world. And the one thing I would say too, getting back to
we're all talking about the Greeks right now because of the Odyssey, and
I'll tell you this: they are not happy with that film. Right?
Really,
given how woke it is, and all this stuff. Yeah, they are not happy with it.
Are you
I
serious?
even know Greek leftists.
Because there's no are there any actual
no
Greeks
in it?
There's no Greeks.
Yeah,
because we went back when I was with my boys, and I showed them the original with it's Kirk Douglas plays it's Ulysses because they use the Latin. Yeah. So it's that one, and it's so good. Yeah. It's just so good. Yeah. And then I watched the new one by myself, like on the plane, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's by the way, it reminds me of like the Matt Damon's Iraq War movie.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is just the same movie. It's like a guy with PTSD, and it's like
Christopher Nolan just making films to distribute in China.
So the Greeks are actually upset.
They don't like it.
They're up in arms.
But look, beyond the whole Odyssey question, the last point I would make here is that there are great young people all around the world, in Greece, in Italy, I've been to Serbia as well, all around the world. I've been to Scotland in the last year where I interviewed President Trump. I've met so many great young conservative people that were inspired by people like Charlie Kirk. And I think that the future of the West is very strong. So I feel good about it.
In the birthplace of the West, Matt Boyle, where can people follow you?
Just MBoyle1 on X Twitter and @real Matt Boyle on True Social.
All right, it was Green Zone, by the way. Green Zone was the movie I'm thinking of. Very similar to Hurt Locker, but Hurt Locker was not Matt Damon. It was Green Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
And Jack, where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, folks, Jack Posobiec back live here, Human Events Daily. In a world where so much is changing, the things that most matter never do. Faith, family, freedom, and the values we choose to stand for. Even something as ordinary as your phone service can reflect those values. That's what Patriot Mobile is all about. For more than 12 years, they've served Americans who want their money to support the causes they believe in, backing the Christian conservative movement and organizations that fight for faith, family, and freedom. Switching is easy. You can keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade to a new device. Their 100% US-based customer support team can have you up and running in minutes. And if you're still paying off your current phone, they can even help with a contract buyout. Best of all, Patriot Mobile offers premium priority access on all 3 U.S. networks. So if you don't have to sacrifice reliable service to make a values-based choice. If you believe it matters who you trust with your communication and where your money goes, Patriot Mobile is worth a look. Go to patriotmobile.com/POSO or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code POSO to get a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/POSO or call 972-PATRIOT. Make the switch today. Okay, we're on with Matt Boyle, the Washington Bureau Chief of Breitbart News. And Matt, there's something else that's coming up. We're talking about how the 2026 election sets up 28, 30, and then eventually 32. One of the biggest things that I think not on the radar for a lot of people, but do you remember the redistricting fights that we were having throughout the past year? I think Republicans actually did.
They gained about 10 or 11.
Win that pretty well, despite the efforts of many Republicans like Indiana and others who tried to fight it tooth and nail. Speaking of the old party, we actually did win that fight. There's going to be another redistricting fight, in a sense, coming up in 2032 because it's the 2030 census. Talk to me about how what Republicans do right now actually is setting up the fight for that.
Well, not even, we don't have to wait till then. In the 2028 election, we're going to see Republicans, many of the states that didn't do redistricting this year will do it in 2028. So I think Indiana will come back around because President Trump went. You
think they'll take another bite at the apple?
I think they will. And so President Trump crushed them in the primaries, in all the ones that he endorsed in. So I think that all the ones that were against it were, for the most part, wiped out. And then I think places like Georgia, South Carolina, other states may do, and some of the ones that we've already seen do some may do more. So Republicans may pick up another, 5 to 10, maybe even 15 seats in 2028. So whatever majority Democrats were to build in the 2026 elections, if they were to get one, which is still kind of TBD, again, it kind of gets back to what I was talking about in the previous segment there about where the country is and where the generic ballot is and so on and so forth. But even if, let's say, Democrats got a 5 to 10 seat majority, I think it's very short-lived, right? The power that they get, I mean, they're in trouble in 2028. Then in 2030, and obviously in 2028 we have a presidential election, right? I think it's pretty clear that we're going to see the vice president, J.D. Vance, will probably be the Republican nominee. I can't really see anybody running against him. And then who Democrats nominate will really determine how that goes and so on and so forth. But I do think that the vice president is very likely to become the next president of the United States. And then in 2030, we're going to see the census. The census, then, what they do is they count up all the Americans in America, and they figure out how many are in each state, and then by the populations of each state, they do what's called the reapportionment, where they then assign a certain number of congressional districts to states based off their population. It's probably an oversimplification here, but one of the things that I think we can expect is because the 2020 census didn't fully pick up all the internal migration that we saw because of COVID. It's amazing because we just saw Fauci testifying on Capitol Hill this week. It's kind of a stark
Did he
reminder.
testify? I don't know if you can call that testimony.
I guess, pleading the fifth nonstop, I guess isn't really testimony. But the point is that with seeing him on Capitol Hill.
And by the way, pleading the fifth, once you already have a pardon, is absolutely contempt of Congress.
Oh, yeah, without
Went
question.
to jail for.
Yeah.
That's what Peter Navarro went to jail for. And not only was that contempt, it was contempt to their face.
By the way, they should 100% hold him in contempt and then refer to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution.
Plus, by the way,
so,
I was told that if you give an opening statement, you can't plead the fifth after that.
I didn't understand how the legal.
How does that even?
I think his lawyers were squirming there, and I think that there's going to be some major things there. I'm not a lawyer, so we'll let the lawyers decide this in court and so on and so forth. But I don't think that his decision to do that is going to hold up. But what I was getting at there was a stark reminder of everything that happened during COVID, where people moved from inside our country. They moved from New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, California to red states like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, other red states around the country. I think you're going to see a number of red states pick up congressional seats when the census is done, and I think you're going to see a number of blue states lose congressional seats. It could be enough theoretically here, and I think that we'll see how it plays out in the 2030 census, that a Republican could win the White House from 2032 onwards without the Rust Belt, right? Like, so without the Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin.
So what's interesting about that is
the math could add up that way. Yeah.
It's not that you're winning it without the Rust Belt. It's that the Rust Belt voters have moved to the Sun Belt. So in a sense, and I want to be explain something, by the way, to Republicans who might misread what's going on here, that doesn't change the fact that these are going to be white working class voters that are in different states, because it's going to change the nature of the Sun Belt when they bring that more Rust Belt politics mentality to the Sun Belt.
Yeah, and not only that, but also you might be able to, again, if you should still be competing in places like Pennsylvania.
It's going to be very grassroots.
Right, yeah, but if you're a Republican candidate and you win a Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin in that mathematical setup, it's lights out for the Democrats. Like, they have no pathway without those. Like, they're going to absolutely need all of those, and then Democrats it's going to make a Democrat winning the White House harder. It's going to make it easier for a Republican to win the White House if it all shakes out the kind of the way.
Well, and a lot of that was COVID, right? A lot of that was the Rust Belt states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, were extremely draconian during COVID.
Yes.
They all had Democrat leadership during that time. Ohio also had Democrat seeming leadership, I should say, in terms of DeWine, because they had Rhino leadership. So it's basically the same thing. Is what I'm getting at. And so that led to a lot of this migration, this northern migration south. But the census just hasn't really caught up yet.
Right, it hasn't caught up yet because they did the census in 2020, but right. But the fact is, a lot of these people maybe didn't move till late 2020 or early 2021 or
21, 22, it's
23 even, right? Like, and they were probably maybe some of the people moved and followed their family members as late as 23 or 24, 25. And I just don't think it's caught up yet. And so when the 2030 census is done, you're going to see it's going to be a lot harder for Democrats to win a majority in the House of Representatives, and it's going to be a lot harder for Democrats to win the White House come around for 2032. So again, that's what makes the 26, 28, and 30 elections so important, I think, is because if Republicans can hold it together for a little bit longer here, then it's going to be lights out for the Democrats. Look, the long money in this country is on the American right. The right is rising. The left is getting more and more desperate. And I think that's part of why you're seeing the stuff we were talking about there with Avita earlier in the show of the rise of the radical left. They're getting more desperate because they see exactly what I just laid out for you too. They know what's coming. They know the math. They know the numbers. They know all of this stuff. And they know that the right is on track to win long term as well. So I think that the left is getting more and more desperate and more radical in the candidate selection that they have. What they're doing is a movement, and they're showing their true face. The mask is slipping, right? So we're starting
but
to see.
unfortunately, you look at some of the, like, I think about Pennsylvania and I think about Fetterman, and there are possibilities that you get like a DSA type. I could see a DSA type being elected in Pennsylvania.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, if I were Senator
certainly,
Fetterman and I wanted to run for
Wisconsin, too.
re-election, look, I like Senator Fetterman a lot, right? It got leaked somewhere when I had dinner with him not that long ago.
I'd like
he's
to
a great
see,
guy. So
I've said, and and for the record, I've never spoken to them public or private. I'd like to see the votes match the rhetoric a little bit more, though.
I would too, but I also think if I were him and I wanted to win, look, I talked to him about this when I met with him. I told him not to switch parties, honestly. So
really,
at the time, but now I'm now I would.
You stand
this
by
was
that
a
now?
year ago.
Okay,
right? So
but now
this was a year ago.
All these
now I would say if I were Senator Fetterman and he wants to win re-election as a senator, he has to switch parties and join the Republican Party, and then. Because otherwise he's in for a really rough time in the primary.
And I'm just going to say that if he wants to come in, we've got to see the votes match the rhetoric. Yeah. Or else why would Republicans get behind a guy who's just been a Democrat his entire time?
Right.
No, that's and by the way, Arlen Specter tried this too, the other way.
Yeah.
The history of party switching in Pennsylvania Senate seats. Right back, Jack Posobiec, Matt Boyle.
Today, they talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, who's done a great job.
All right, folks, Jack Posobiec, we're back, Human Events. Before we get started, I want to thank Allegiance Gold for doing everything they do to make our coverage possible. And producing coverage like we do takes a lot behind the scenes, and we're grateful for partners like Allegiance Gold to help make it happen. Also reminds me that the security that they've provided us in the field means different things to different people, and security itself means different things to different families. Whether it's the stories we're covering, the decisions we make at home, it's important to think about protecting what we've worked hard to build. That's why I'm especially thankful for Allegiance Gold. We've been working together for the last 5 years, and relationships like that aren't built overnight. They're built on trust, consistency, and showing up for each other. We appreciate their support. We're proud to have them standing with us. If you want to learn more, visit protectwithposo.com. That's protectwithposo.com. Check them out, 844-577-POSO to learn more, protectwithposo.com. Evita Duffy, you're on with our political panel. And Evita, the unforgiving clock cut you off. Please continue your point.
Well, I just want to say, Jack, we have a real serious threat facing our country with these democratic socialists. I mean, these are radical individuals. They want to abolish the police. They want to abolish private property. But it's really important that we have fighters on the other side who understand how far this goes. My family suffered through the Spanish Civil War and fought communists then. My husband, who's running for Congress in Wisconsin 7th District, his family fled communist Cuba. We both have an intimate understanding of the violence, the chaos, the destruction, the misery that socialism, which really what they're saying is it's communism, what that leads to. It is destructive. You documented it in your book. We need people who understand the stakes to fight back at this. This is not a game. This is not politics. This is not 1990 Bill Clinton politics. We are dealing with radicals, with insane people who do literally want to see you dead. Even the people that applauded when Charlie Kirk was murdered in public.
Evita, so we've just seen Zora Mandami's government post their list of the enemies of the state in New York. Tell me, what happens after the communists post the list of the wealthy landowners and the addresses? What typically happens in a communist system right after they do that?
Jack, the list it's a hit list. That's what this is. There's no games here. This is not politics. This is a list to murder people. I mean, literally, Jack, during the Spanish Civil War, you know that my family, they were prolific Catholic but conservative writers, and they were targeted. My great-grandfather was thrown in jail. but also there's a religious aspect to this as well. There's a reason why Mamdani has been so vehemently anti-Catholic in New York. He has, I mean, elevated every other religion and ideation out there, but has shown a hatred toward the Catholic Church for some reason. Jack, this is because they hate Christianity, they hate God Himself, and a Catholic priest who was a family member of mine during the Spanish Civil War was murdered by the communists. That is what is at stake.
100%. Matt Boyle, so, you know, this is why one of the things that's so important about this 2026 election, it's actually about setting the stakes for 28, for 30, and 32, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. And by the way, I think Evita has made several great points here about how you need to have, look, the other side is serious. They are unleashing, forces in their base and so on and so forth that are I mean, they're dead serious about what the things that they want to do. When they say they want to do all these crazy radical things, I think you should believe them. But what we need is on the right in this country, Trump-like candidates. There's the idea that you can just return to the old way of doing things, the Mitt Romney, John McCain party, the Paul Ryan party. It's not going to work, right? Like, I mean, you need real fighters that are going to go in there and take these people to task and go win and unleash the base on, because I still think that the right is stronger in America for a variety of reasons. I think that the values that exist out there on the right are much more attractive. But again, you need people that are going to go very clearly make that case. We've seen the Republican Party shifting, and it's been a good thing over the course of the last 10 to 15 years in the lead up to Trump winning in 2016, during his first term, during the time in between, and now during his second term, where we've seen great senators getting elected, great members of Congress. But the concern is that in the wake of Trump down the road, later, that there might be a reversion to the mean, if you will, where Republicans go back to just, losing gracefully and allowing the radical left to continue to chip away at our freedoms, rights, and American way of life, which is, again, they're abundantly clear every day about what they want to do. So I think when they say they want to do all these crazy radical things, we should believe them, and then we should go out there and fight and counter them. And so what we need to see are good candidates that are stepping up, people that have the resources and the wherewithal and the ability to do that. We've seen a lot of great candidates emerge in recent elections, but you got to keep that going.
Well, I'd be remiss if and I know we showed the website, but I'd be remiss if we're talking about the great candidates that are emerging in the election. Do you happen to know any? Could you think of one off the top of your head, maybe?
Listen, my husband, Michael, he understands the stakes. He's running in Wisconsin, 7th Congressional District. He's a fighter. And let me tell you something else. He's also the hardest working person in this race. We are everywhere. I'm in the car right now because we're on the campaign trail. We don't get a break. We bring our baby with us. That's the kind of energy that we need in Congress. The stakes are too high. We're fighting for the soul of our country. We don't have time for lazy candidates. We don't have time for lazy appeal. And the other thing I'm going to say, this is happening with young people. The cancer of democratic socialism, which again is really communism, it is growing out of our universities, of even our elementary schools with social emotional learning. You need young fighters who understand where this is coming from and can message to young people. The messenger matters. Trump is wonderful. We have great older people as well, but we need young people to message to young people in addition to some of the older fighters that we have in our movement. Because if we don't, Jack, we're going to lose this generation. We lose the next generation. We do lose America.
Evita, I know you guys got to run. You're on the field. You're literally going to events right now. Tell people where they can go to follow you and get in touch with your husband's campaign there.
Mike Alfonso Wisconsin is his Twitter account. And then if you want to go to our website, it's alfonsoforwisconsin.com.
All right. Right back, Jack Posobiec, with more with Matt Boyle. We continue.
nothing will stand in our way, and our golden age has just begun.
This is Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
Now it's time for everyone to understand what America First truly means. Welcome to the Second American Revolution. All right, folks, welcome back to Human Events. And some weeks are nonstop. We're talking early mornings, late nights, long hours on the road or in the studio. When your schedule looks like that, kind of like my schedule, getting a good night's sleep isn't a luxury, it's an essential. You are waking up hot. You're constantly tossing and turning, or you're just not feeling rested. Your mattress could actually be the problem. And I was on the road for 3 weeks, and I'm so happy to be home in my Ghost bed, because my Ghost bed mattress, just like every single other one, comes with built-in cooling technology, no expensive upgrade required. The design for hot sleepers, providing excellent support and making a real difference when you've got long days ahead. One thing I especially like is that Ghost bed gives you 101 nights to make it and try it in your own home. You're not making a decision after one night in a showroom. You get more than 3 months to see if it's right for you. Right now, they're also running their 4th of July sale. In fact, it's still going for the 250th, and Human Events viewers can save an additional 10% with promo code POSO. With financing, some Ghost beds will cost around $1 a day. Visit ghostbed.com/POSO and use promo code POSO to save even more. Well, folks, we've been looking out there. We're talking about the midterms, and I wanted to really focus on midterms today and put together, and it's sort of an impromptu political panel. And so I wanted to bring the folks in and explain who we have got. So first up, we've got the great Evita Duffy, who's joining us from on the campaign trail over there in Wisconsin. Evita, how are you?
Doing good, Jack. Working hard. We're on the road.
You are on the road. Your husband's running for Congress, and of course, you've got this DSA candidate, this Francesca Hong, who's running in your race. And I want to ask you about that in just a second. And I also want to bring in here live in studio, we've got the Washington bureau chief of Breitbart News, Matt Boyle. What's up, Matt?
What's going on, Jack?
You knew we had to start doing the Boyle midterm election breakdowns.
Oh, yeah,
we're starting
studio.
Thank you, I appreciate that. No, it's Real America's Voice has done a great job in setting it up, and we started back. I think I had like a basement studio a couple years back, and doing a tiny little thing like shoebox, and now look at us, right?
Like the Zoom camera call.
Well, we didn't talk about the Zoom camera. Hey, Evita's on a Zoom camera call right now. She's in her car, but it's all right. She'll make it look great. So, Evita, let's start with you. Because you're there in Wisconsin, you're on the ground, and I understand that you have some interesting thoughts about this. So it looks to me like Francesca Hong is in the pole position going into the race for governor in Wisconsin. A lot of people have told us that, and we've got this other guy, Abdul El Sayed, right across the way there in Michigan, across the lake for you. And, people are saying, these far left candidates are going to win, and that's actually good and helpful for the general election. What do you think about that? Do you think that they're too far out of the lockstep of the Rust Belt to win?
Jack, I was at America Fest last year, and I was talking to some young TP Action guys who were on the ground, and I said, do you guys think Francesca Hong, who is this radical Democratic socialist, could she actually win the primary for the governor in Wisconsin? And they were like, no, there's no way. She's too crazy. The Democrats aren't going to put her up. She can't win. And we are now in a position, Jack, in Wisconsin, where she is very likely to win. She's the most likely to win per the polling. And not only is she most likely to win among the Democrats, but she's crushing it with young people, Jack. Under 44, and the Democratic primary polling shows they're going 74% for Francesca Hong. I mean, this is like overwhelming.
Well, and Evita, wait, I just want to be clear. Are you talking primary or general?
Primary.
Okay.
So Democratic voters.
So let's say she wins the primary, and all right. So let's say let's stipulate that. Let's stipulate that she wins. Do you think that translates into the general?
I think, Jack, that there is a very good chance it does, and here's why. Because even though I don't agree with Francesca Hong at all, and I think that she's radical and she's crazy, and the policies that she has are going to lead to equitable suffering for everybody, she's talking about the things that people care about, right? She's talking about affordability. She's talking about making life easier for regular Wisconsinites. She's talking about populism, economic populism, left-wing populism, which is very dangerous, but she's talking about populism. And on the right, I think we have to respond the exact same way with right-wing populism, with unleashing American energy independence, getting up deportation numbers to bring up the value, getting up deportation numbers to bring up the value of labor in this country, doing things that help working class families. If we don't do that, what Francesca Hong and Mamdani and all of these Democratic Socialists are offering is actually very appealing.
And so that's the offer of socialism, which of course never pans out. But to your point, it become very popular. I want to get Matt Boyle in. So Boyle, you're seeing this as well. You've got Abdul Al-Sayed, you've got Francesca Hong, we've seen Mamdani. And I think what Evita's saying is it tracks, right? They're these popular, hey, we're going to give everybody free stuff if you vote for us kind of policies. And the danger is, of course, that if people see the high gas prices, and we're talking, by the way, Wisconsin, Michigan, that doesn't get more Rust Belt than that, then what danger does that pose for Republicans in the general?
Well, let's start from the point that these people are all fraudulent, right? Like they're liars.
Trust me.
Socialists are liars, and
you're not gonna.
They're not gonna. I mean, they're scamming people to win elections.
You would be hard pressed to find a show that's more anti-communist than this one.
Right, but like,
for sure.
But just that being said, I think that the energy that is there right now on the radical left, on the rise of these socialist candidates around the country. If I were the Republicans, I would much rather face establishment Democrats than socialist Democrats in a lot of these different races, because I think that the energy for the base, look, I'm a base guy, right? Like I care about where the bases of the parties are, right? Like, so, it reminds me a lot of 2016 where you had Trump was the base candidate of the Republican Party and Bernie Sanders was the base candidate of the Democrat Party. Hillary was the establishment candidate. Base candidates energize their base, and that's where the Democrat base is right now. I think I saw a recent polling that showed something like 35% of the Democrats now identify as Democrat socialists, and the energy is with those people.
Well, and this is why
in their party, and if they can translate that into general election energy, then they're going to win elections. Now,
well, but just on that point, this is why my Senator John Fetterman it started quietly and now it's pretty loudly making these comments about, making noise like he might want to drop the D next to his name because he knows he'll face a primary challenge in 28.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no doubt. And by the way, he's actually somebody who's really fascinating to me. Like Fetterman, I think, he's somebody who was with the kind of the left base when he won his election and has since drifted far away from that.
It's because of the issue of Israel.
Yeah, it's because of that, and also a lot of the other radical
which, by the way,
insanity.
is going to be a problem for Shapiro too if he wants to run for something else in 28. But Boyle, before I go back to Evita, finish your point earlier. You were saying what does this mean for the general?
For the general, I think that the more socialist candidates they have, the more energy they have going into the general election. They want to unleash their base's energy. The generic ballot polling shows it anywhere from a 2 to a 5 or 6 point race between Republicans and Democrats. For Republicans to hold their majorities in the House and the Senate, they would probably need it around 2, maybe 3 Democrat point. What I'm talking about is the lead Democrats have on the generic ballot nationally. So if it's a D+2 or D+3 electorate, Republicans could probably hold their majorities. If it's 4 or more, then Democrats are probably going to take the majority in the House and maybe the Senate. So the Democrats' best chances, I think, and I think their base is very smart in doing this. Like Bernie Sanders is sending staffers into Michigan right now to help Al-Sayed. That was the big story this morning. They're very smart to try to unleash that energy on their side, because if it's a 3 or a 4 point, general election, national generic ballot, having a lot more energy in some of these key races is going to help them take more seats. Than
let me go back to Evita Duffy now. So Evita, you're there, you're on the ground in Wisconsin. Are you seeing that as well? We got this breaking news that, Bernie Sanders, these DSA types, they're now shifting infrastructure, they're shifting staff and resources into Michigan. Are you seeing things like that in Wisconsin as well?
Well, certainly so Francesca Hong has appeared on shows with Mamdani. He's signaled that he supports her. I don't know if Bernie Sanders has come into the state of Wisconsin yet, but I think he'd be dumb not to, because this woman's going to win. I mean, she's extremely radical. This is somebody who said she wants to abolish the police. You know, she had crazy ideas about COVID. She does not like America. She does not like our founding principles. And that's really what the DSA stands for. And she's going to be a champion for them. So there's a problem right now on the Republican side, I think, in that we are gravitating toward the more establishment candidates, right? Like, I think in the age of post-Trump, I think a lot of people are thinking that way, right? Because he's going to be out of office eventually. That the John McCain, the party of John McCain, the party of like maybe Mitt Romney, that they're going to come back and take control. This is happening in Wisconsin, but this is happening in states across the country. And the problem that I see, Jack, is the party of pre-Trump is going to fail against a Mamdani, against a Francesca Hong, against a Bernie Sanders. The American people are not there right now.
Wait, are you talking about like the party of Paul Ryan, who lost his own home state of Wisconsin?
Yes, we need to have, I think, a clear eyes about where the American people are and what they want, and it's not the same old. It's not going 20 years into the past. It is MAGA populism, and that's what's going to, I think, win voters over.
And we're coming up on a quick break, but just hold that thought. And by the way, Matt, well, correct me if I'm wrong. Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, but what was his actual home state again?
Utah. So
was he born in Utah or was he born in Michigan? I thought he was born in Michigan. Michigan, yeah. He was born in Michigan, where his father had been the governor. So they both lost the Rust Belt, is my point. They're both from the Rust Belt. They both lost the Rust Belt. Understand, if you are looking at a national election, you need to understand the Rust Belt. Jack Posobiec back with our political panel here on Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice. This is what happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Christ is king.
This summer, Democratic Socialist candidates have been gaining attention by winning Democratic primary races across the country.
Despite President Trump pressuring the Fed to lower interest rates, investors continue to predict the Federal Reserve will keep rates steady. That's because inflation remains persistently high. It's impacted by oil and gas prices from the ongoing war in Iran.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
The government is going to have to borrow $8.3 trillion with a T dollars this year. And that is obviously a huge amount of money relative to anything it's borrowed in the past.
Overnight, President Trump ordering new airstrikes on Iran after their surprise attack on an American base in Jordan Tuesday.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them.
U.S. Central Command says they hit dozens of military targets, including command centers, missile facilities, and maritime capabilities. Social media footage shows smoke rising on Qeshm Island in the Persian Gulf, and video from Iranian TV shows people digging through debris at what they claim is a residential building. And now, new concerns the war is expanding to other countries. An American-owned tanker and 2 ships in Egypt were hit by drones.
The Islamic Republic may soon be receiving some backup from China. A new report says the following, quote, Iran is expected to receive within weeks a first shipment out of up to 400 Chinese-made shoulder-fired air defense missile launchers. The purchase, valued at $60 to $70 million, is one of Tehran's largest known efforts to strengthen its short-range air defenses. Here's what President Trump had to say when asked about this report.
Well, that would be surprising. I mean, things like that happen, but that would be surprising. He told me very strongly he wouldn't partake, and he knows I'd be quite disappointed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. We're here live in Washington, D.C. Today is July 30th, 2026, Anno Domini. And folks, you saw the news from late last night, early this morning, the escalation of the war in Iran in the middle of a tight election year. And we're seeing, of course, the news now that the president is weighing multiple options for further escalation. Wall Street Journal has a story out that there's a U.S. commander with a 2-week plan to escalate strikes across all of Iran. I believe we saw the IRGC headquarters was struck last night. And of course, we had the caskets of 4 U.S. soldiers arrive home just last week as well. We're also hearing that there's a potential for more strikes coming forward in terms of strikes, not just on the direct infrastructure of the coast, but actually on infrastructure further afield, directly targeting the regime itself. And so, of course, there's many questions as to how far this goes. Who is going to blink first? Is it going to be the president, or is it going to be Iran and the mullahs? And it certainly doesn't seem like either of them are interested in this. All the while, mounting questions are growing about how the Republicans are going to deal with the rise of gas prices in an election year. And remember, the rise in gas prices, the rise in energy costs, oil costs, sweeps over everything. That means your energy, that means your home energy is going to go up. That means the price of your goods is going to go up. The price of your groceries is going to go up. Your cost of living is going to go up at a time when we know the Democrats were already trying to make this election all about affordability. This was always the danger of getting involved in a prolonged and protracted fight with Iran, because Iran has asymmetrical effect on the world's energy supply vis-a-vis that choke point, that artery of empire, as we've called it on this show, the Strait of Hormuz. That if they were to come in and block up the Strait of Hormuz, they knew that they could hurt the world economy even more than they could if they were going directly at the military. That's what asymmetric warfare is all about. And now, of course, we hear and we've seen that the Red Sea is opening up as well, because the Red Sea has become this alternate route. Well, what are they doing? They're targeting with their friends and their buddies, the Houthis and the Shia militia groups, the PMF across Iraq are now targeting Saudi Arabia. The Houthis are targeting shipping in the Red Sea. And a lot of questions coming up. A lot of hard questions and serious decisions need to be made from the White House, from the Pentagon. What is the plan going forward? What is the exit strategy? What does the win condition look like? What does a deal look like with the Iranians? Is there a path back to the MOU? Is there a path back to the ceasefire? Because voters across the Rust Belt are looking at this. And as a guy from Pennsylvania, I'll tell you right now, that voters in Pennsylvania do not want to vote for higher gas prices. Voters in Pennsylvania do not want to vote for higher cost of living and higher groceries. And that's going to be the same thing in Michigan. That's going to be the same thing in Wisconsin. That's going to be the same thing in Ohio. That's going to be the same in North Carolina, Maine, all of these places, right? All of these places where there are tight races going on in the Senate, some cases for the governorship. And it's going to be something where Republican candidates increasingly are going to be asked, what are you doing with the war in Iran? We're seeing it, but the questions are mounting. Right back, Jack Posobiec, Real America's Voice, Human Events Daily.